I covered this a little bit ago, but Matt Walsh, our main man over here, the most soy-looking of the conservatives. There was some leaked audio that came out about him talking about the fertility of 16-year-old girls, which is a classic conservative talking point. Don't know why everyone was freaking out over it, really, you know. No apparent hypocrisy between him doing this crusade against trans degeneracy to protect the children while wanting to impregnate them or whatever. But anyway, my man over here coming out, the hot video, beating the allegations. Let's go. He looks weird. He does look weird, yeah.
So now it's my turn, and I expected that something like this might happen. It had to happen. I've been successful in fighting against the left's agenda, especially the trans agenda, and especially recently. Those who support the sexual mutilation of children know full well that I am a threat to them because we're winning and they're losing, and they know that too. And they can't engage with our arguments. They can't oppose us on the battlefield of ideas. So instead, they look for another way. And now they're convinced they found their kill shot against me by using the same method they always use, which is digging up ancient history, doing the internet equivalent of rummaging through garbage cans to find things that were done and said years ago, which can be used to defame and, they hope, silence me today.
We're poisoning the well, doing quite a bit of priming here, huh?
So yes, my PR team over at Media Matters apparently wasn't satisfied to promote just my current show and all the work they do there. So they decided to go back 15 years to my time as a rock radio host on an obscure station in Delaware, which is also an obscure state. And they spent, it would seem, many tedious hours listening to segments and bits from my time.
Okay, so I don't know how long he's going to take with like getting mad at the concept of investigative journalism, but it was like a 2-minute clip where he talked extensively, yeah, about like how women are prime fertility from like, what did he say, like 16 to 23 or something, just, you know, like that. And how like there's nothing wrong with child in pregnancy. You just have to marry them, you know? So he wants like chicks dropping out of school in their sophomore year because they've got a baby in them, you know, like stuff like that. Pretty creepy stuff. Keep in mind, like when people say they want traditional marriage and traditional gender roles, like that's it, right? Like it was only a couple decades ago that marital rape was made illegal, and historically child marriages have been very, 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 very common. When you talk about like historical gender roles and historical like traditional marriage or whatever, it's not just a barefoot pregnant trad wife, it's a barefoot pregnant underage trad wife. That's like the archetype. And given the fact that a lot of these guys feel like really threatened by women, you know, this sort of minimizes that. For one of the same reasons that a lot of, you know how a lot of guys get really upset at the idea of a woman having sex with another guy before them? No matter what they say, no matter what excuse they give, like, well, why they think it's so gross that a woman would not be a virgin and have sex with her, you know? The real reason is because they're insecure and they don't want to be compared to another sex partner. That's the actual reason. No matter what they say or pretend they believe, that is the actual reason. It's a deep-seated anxiety, like a pit of despair in their gut, that the chick might have some knowledge or power over you from having had a better experience, you know? So anyway, this fits with it, because if she's 16, then not as likely, huh?
As a shock jock in my early 20s, it could not have been easy to sit through. I commend their persistence, at least. And now they've compiled their findings into an expose that promises to reveal my, quote, sordid past. Honestly, I never thought of myself as having a sordid past. I figured my life was far too boring and sort of
oh my God,
banal, and they are not very interesting. They are doing what they always do. There is evidence that I made offensive remarks when I was 23 years old. That, in their minds, is far more relevant to the public. It's a matter of greater national...
Why are his cheeks so red? They look red and pockmarked. Does he normally wear makeup? This doesn't look like a just today thing. He was crying? Ah, of course.
National urgency, they think. So, with that in mind, let's talk now, if this is what they want to talk about, for a few moments about the deep, dark secrets of my past.
I should do this when I'm canceled, by the way. I should release like a 15-minute video about it, and it's all just me going like, my haters and losers have dug up some irrelevant nonsense because they're angry and mad that they keep losing to my gigantic brain. And I just do that for 15 minutes and I just never actually mention what it was. That'd be good, actually. This is a good tactic.
Skeletons that have been hiding in my closet, waiting to be discovered by intrepid reporters at Media Matters. I will tell you the whole ghastly story,
Oh my
even
God.
the origins of the world's most notorious terrorist, depending on who you listen to. So I worked at the station until I was 25 for a couple.
Oh my God.
Is true. They also accused me of physically abusing our radio interns by tasing one of them as a joke.
Was the audio released as part of a broader collection of things? Media Matters, Matt Walsh. Okay, yeah, so this was part of a broader thing, I see. The co-host of the Matt and the Crank program, Matt Walsh, defended political violence in teen pregnancy, shocked an intern with a stun gun, performed racist impressions of black men, and said we probably lost a republic after Reconstruction. Well, Matt Walsh is literally a Nazi. I didn't know I'm surprised I haven't seen that around, the lost a republic after Reconstruction thing. They didn't even do Reconstruction. Most people will admit we've been on this path for not a year because of Obama's, not 10 years because of Bush, not 20 because of Clinton. We've been on this path for 100 years or more. We probably lost a republic after Reconstruction. If you want actual change that isn't going to reverse itself in 10 or 5 years or even 1 year, you have to look at extreme action. To go back to slavery? Okay, then here's the bit with the getting girls pregnant when they're 16. And I got some more news for you. 17-year-old girls and 18-year-old girls that are still in high school, just getting into college, many of them want biologically and metaphysically and with everything in their body. They want to settle down. They want to start a family. And it's always going to be that way no matter what you do. Guys always tell themselves this because they're so, like, desperate to be the central pillar in a woman's life. There will be women having a good time in college, and then some guy who looks like this will be like, biologically, you want to settle down with a white husband, don't you? And then, like, the women are just, like, chilling or whatever, but they need that narrative. Like, they need, because the if you think women are less than human, you need to believe that every choice they make for themselves that isn't what you would make for them is a mistake that they're going to regret, right? The fact of the matter is that people are wacky and complicated. People like lots of different things, and also basically everyone dies with regrets, right? Like, there's so much said about men who spend their lives working but never spend time with their family, dying regretting not having spent more time with their family. But nobody ever goes to guys who are working a bunch, like, biologically, you want to spend time with your family, don't you? They don't, because to a lot of these people, like, if men make that decision, that's their prerogative, you know? Even if it's not the one that's right for them, even if they're just sort of being socially pushed into it, like, that's their sacrifice to make, it's their choice to make. But when women make decisions that they think they'll later end up regretting, like they think they need to restructure society from the legal, like, system up in order to force them to only make the decisions they think are right for them. And I think a good example as to why that's probably true is the whorish behavior some of these same-age girls that get to college. There are some sluts. They start, these girls, believe me, when I went to the University of Maryland, I was a little bit older than everyone. It was like you get there, you see these innocent girls by the end of the year. There's just like stories you've heard about them. It's like this internal need to breed. This is like dudes with porn addictions, like getting angry because the girl that they shared one of their 101 classes with had a boyfriend by the end of the second year. Like, this is very this guy behavior, like peering through a window, The stories you hear, my dude, why are you not making the stories? Like, at least if they were like, yeah, these girls are so innocent, but like they all want to be railed up the ass, so I 27 of them. At least in that case, you're like the active agent. This is just you seething at other people having sex. Sorry, it's a whole thing, right? Matt Walsh's racist worldview: as the Anglo-Saxons, which were the original Americans, die off, our identity and our culture goes with it. Yeah, he's just a Nazi. I didn't see all these. I only saw the pedophilia one. I'm surprised more of them didn't. It is because we're all dying off. Yes, that's what the problem is. It's not that. It's not that we're just, as the Mexicans come in, we magically meld with them and become like them. It's not like that. It's that we're dying off just like any other species of animal does. We're dying. And the way that there's two ways animals die off. Well, three ways. One is disease. Two is deforestation. or they lose their habitat, which, okay, look at us. And the third is that they stop reproducing, and usually all three of those kind of happen simultaneously. And that's what's happening to us. The extinction of the Anglo-Saxon race is just like that. White people aren't having kids. Anglo-Saxons, which are the original Americans, die off. Our identity and culture goes with it. Now China, Japan, Korea, Vietnam, and Egypt, all those countries for thousands of years have got to keep their identity and their culture. They've been allowed to preserve it, whereas ours is dying off. And wait, China, Japan, Korea, Vietnam, and Egypt have all been allowed to preserve their culture? Is he suggesting that modern Egypt and ancient Egypt have anything in common? Japan, we occupied and rewrote their constitution. China had a cultural revolution and literally destroyed the artifacts of its past. Vietnam was invaded by us and then by China. Korea was occupied by... We appointed a dictator. Okay. Yes, the ancient Japanese cultural tradition of anime, something that was heavily inspired by Walt Disney cartoons. Sorry, it's all just so stupid. Ah, yes, here we go. Thank you. Are you implying a Nazi would lie about history? Yeah. I like how I've pointed out before that the fear-mongering about trans people is the modern Jewish question. Like, it is the modern, like, this is the group of elite, like, liberal degenerates who are corrupting our society with so-and-so. And it's mainly being pushed by a guy who is basically overtly a Nazi. That's great. Super cool.
That's also true. And I submit, still funny. In fairness, I got tased too. In fact, I invented a game back in those days called
We don't care
Taser
about
Trivia.
the tasing.
Question?
Actually, get it together. I mean, it does hurt to get tased. You missed out on if you didn't live in Southern calls, and some of the prank calls were offensive by current standards. Sometimes on a call, I would imitate a black man. On one occasion, I attempted to portray a man with split personalities, one of whom was black and the other white. It was very high concept sort of work. And it worked better on paper than it did in execution, I could tell you. But not all of our prank calls were racially charged.
I wonder what the difference was between the black and the white voices.
An argument with a guy in the audience while I was on the stage, and it ended with me.
Oh, no clip for that one, huh?
It was, I think, without question, the nerdiest prank call anyone has ever made, and it deserves to be recognized as such in the Guinness Book of World Records. I submit. But Media Matters didn't include that video in their expose. Maybe they can find room for it in the follow-up that I'm sure is...
No clip on that one?
Yesterday, I called Barack Obama Elementary School. I wanted to find out if the fact that the school's named after Obama actually translates into the way that they grade, into their philosophy and strategy for the grading system.
Right.
And here's what happened.
Barack Obama Elementary.
Y'all opened up on Monday.
Yeah.
And I've been waiting for a long time, waiting for like a year or so until there was a school opened up named after my man Barack Obama, you know what I mean? And I wanted to get my son enrolled in y'all's program over there, but I just had a few questions as far as the way that y'all handle the kids and so on with the grading system and whatnot.
Okay, what's your address?
My address is 2020 Smithfield.
What is it?
Smithfield.
Smithfield?
Nah, Smithfield.
Smith?
Smithfield.
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 That's not in our boundary.
That's not within y'all boundary?
No.
Yeah, but I could relocate if that's what it comes down to.
Okay, well then when you do that, you have to bring your proof of residency.
Yeah, no, I can do that. I mean, before I even make decisions like that, I need to know what the schools are.
This is such a terrible fucking black voice, dude. Holy shit. I feel like I could do one better than this off the cuff, and I'm not a radio host. Is this supposed to be funny? Believe it or not, this is supposed to be comedy. Like, this is like a joke thing.
All about, you know what I mean?
Okay.
I mean,
What is it that you need to know, sir?
Well, I need to know what y'all, really, what y'all grading system's all about, first and foremost, because my son that I want to send to y'all, he ain't exactly the top student, you know, in charge, you know what I mean? He ain't really the head dog as far as in his classes and whatnot, yo. He ain't really excelling necessarily. But my thoughts on the matter was, I mean, I know with the way that Obama, you know, I listened to him on a campaign trail and whatnot, and yo had a lot.
Are you living in the area, sir?
I'm sorry?
Do you live in the area?
No, what I'm saying to you is that I could relocate if that's what.
Sorry, I just wanted to really appreciate the comedy.
Coming. Yet it wasn't all fun and games. Media Matters reports that I made politically inflammatory statements, including at a Tea Party rally where I got into an argument with a guy in the audience while I was on the stage, and it ended with me calling him an, quote, old fart.
Yeah, we're really backloading the meaningful accusations, aren't we?
And that, at the end of the day, was really the only reason I ran, was just so that I could do this. Here it is.
The fuck is this?
And they did. They found more terrible things. One, not the best thing to do in the middle of a political campaign. But the left is not satisfied to merely accuse me of racism, terrorism, political extremism, workplace violence. They're also absurdly claiming that I advocated child brides. And for that bit of defamation...
Well, he explicitly did. He literally, that's not even arguable. That's not even like a matter of interpretation.
They are using another segment from over a decade ago where we discussed the issue of teen pregnancy. And I pointed out that in the past, teen pregnancy wasn't considered a problem because people got married younger. I was attempting to highlight, in an admittedly awkward and rambling way in my early 20s, riffing off the top of my head during a rock morning show to an audience of almost no one at the time, the fact that unwed pregnancy is a core problem that plagues our society, and it's still a problem even when the unwed pregnant person is an adult. So no matter the age, I argued at the time, pregnancies become a crisis when they happen outside of marriage without a stable family structure in place to care for the child. This was, again, not an issue in earlier times because people got married young and stayed married. That's not the way our society is today, though, of course.
No. It was pretty explicitly about impregnating teenage girls. You can go about the rambling structure however you want, but he literally says the problem is not per se teenage pregnancy, it's unwed pregnancy. It's kind of hard to get around. It's kind of hard to get around that, no matter how you want to parse it.
At its core, it's a rather uncontroversial historical observation, but the left has latched on to this point from years ago and tried to use it to flip the groomer label around on me, accusing me of, quote, promoting teen pregnancy and even child rape, as some of the libelous statements would have it. This is...
Well, he did, again, literally say the problem is not per se teenage pregnancy, and he also never really specifies whether the okay, so I'm just thinking, like, I'm thinking right here, okay? I'm an adult man, all right? I'm on a radio show, and I'm about to talk, apropos of nothing, about teenage pregnancy. So I have to think, okay? Now, I'm Matt Walsh, and I'm going to talk about how actually it's not a big deal for teens to get pregnant. I'm going to say several paragraphs on the subject, all right? Now, I feel like if I wasn't talking about child brides, at some point I would say that an adult should not be impregnating and marrying a 16-year-old, right? That seems like a thing you'd want to clear up, right? Like, are you saying it's not a big deal when high schoolers get other high schoolers pregnant? Or are you saying it doesn't matter who gets the high schooler pregnant? Because historically, when 16-year-old girls get pregnant and married, it's often not to other 16-year-olds. So the lack of that, especially since he says at about 16, you're an adult who is mature and can make decisions, really, really, really sounds like he's just saying, like, it's okay for an adult to impregnate a high school teenage girl as long as you marry her after. That seems like the thing he's saying, you know? That groomer Walsh is wandering into high schools, you know, thinking like, well, as long as they get married, right? I don't really think there's a way around that interpretation. It seems like a pretty straightforward way of understanding what he's saying, you know? I mean, obviously he's going to downplay it and flip it around, but my personal belief is that this is still something that he explicitly politically believes, you know? Stupider people like Nick Fuentes have said it openly, that, like, yeah, we should be able to go, like, have underage trad wives when he's not, you know, when Fuentes is pretending to not be gay. But this is a pretty common belief to the tradcon types who really do just want, like, a 14-year-old wife. Yes, there we go. Sorry, I was looking for that. Do you think Walsh will get canceled by the right the way they did with Milo? No. For one, Milo only got canceled for being a pedophile because he's gay. If he was straight, none of the conservatives would have cared. Two, I think that the right is more dogmatic now, and I think that at this point they wouldn't even care. It like if Milo had done and said the same stuff today, I think he would still. I don't think the cancellation would have happened. I think we're in the end game now. You know, the right wants to kill trans people, kill black people, babies, and they're on the warpath now. They're gunning for this. They're going for it as hard as they can. I don't think they're in the take prisoners stage.
This is a defamatory lie. They know it's a lie, and it shows how desperate they are. They've chosen the most toxic smears available because smears are all they have. Now, in summary, my enemies have thrown every last thing they can at me, the whole kitchen sink and a few of the appliances to go along with it. I'm not the first person to get this treatment, obviously. I certainly won't be the last.
Wait, is that his rebuttal? There was a 2-minute audio clip of him defending impregnating and marrying children. That's his rebuttal? No? I guess that's a good one. A more recent clip, Matt advocates specifically getting married younger for fertility's sake.
What should we advise people to do as a general policy? We should obviously advise them to get married younger. And there are a couple reasons for that. One reason is that biology exists, okay, despite what we hear from the left. Biology is a real phenomenon. And what that means
Why is the audio doing that?
is that our biological clocks are ticking, especially for women. So if you wait until your mid-30s to get married, it might be too late to have a family. My wife is married with our number 5 and 6 right now, okay? And because we like to double up when we have kids. And they're already telling her she's 35. They told her this technically counts as a geriatric pregnancy at the age of 35. That's real. So she's like, that's what it is. So you're gonna wait until you're in geriatric pregnancy mode to get married to begin with? Doesn't make a lot of sense. And also, the other point is that if you get married younger, then you're building a life with someone rather than building your adult life first and then trying to inject somebody else into it. And that can cause problems because then you feel like, well, this is mine, this is my life, and you feel like they're intruding on it. There's real value in starting young and like being on the ground floor together as you build your life together. So that's terrible advice. Let's
So if he wants you to start having kids before you build your adult life, would that not imply that you have the kids like as a kid? Matt Walsh also supports arranged marriages. Well, yeah, again, he's the full deal. I'm telling you guys, the right-wing politics are 100% like about getting to rape children or getting to kill whichever minority group you're most afraid of at that moment. That's literally it. Any attempt at making like politics more complicated than that is an exercise in futility. It's an exercise in needless intellectual masturbation when there's such an obvious core to it.
Their objective is nothing less than the wholesale destruction of my life and my career. That's what they're going for.
Sure.
That's the price they expect me to pay for opposing them effectively. They hope to force me to submit and apologize, at which point
I can't believe that the most damning part of that whole thing, which was the screed on impregnating children, he rebutted with a no.
Of course, as it goes, they'll shoo me away with my tail between my legs, out of public view, out of the arena, off into obscurity. This is my punishment, the life sentence they expect me to serve for trying to stop them from abusing and butchering children. And it's not just me they're after. They want to send a message to everybody else. They want to send a message to you that if you stand up against them, this is what happens. They want to make me into another head on a spike, one of many.
So do we recognize this from the Trump speeches? It is exactly the same. It's the same message as always. It's whenever they criticize me for my awful behavior, it's actually because they want to destroy you. They want to make your life unlivable, and I'm just in the way. They can't touch you until they've smeared me somehow.
They put out on the edge of town a warning to anyone else who might think about disobeying their rules.
Like not impregnating children.
So here's my official answer, for the record. Kiss my ass. I do not apologize.
Epic, dude.
In fact, by all rights, you sick freaks should be the ones apologizing to me for lying and defaming me, and doing it all because I'm trying to prevent you from sexually mutilating children. You damned monsters. You child-abusing psychopaths.
He sounds like he's cribbing Jordan Peterson here with the intonation.
I wouldn't apologize to you, soulless parasites, if I had a gun to my head. Instead, I'd rather just tell you all to piss off. I apologize for nothing.
Moralists. Yeah.
I concede nothing. I will never surrender even a single inch of ground to a pitchfork mob of degenerate morons. You know, the secret they never say out loud is that nobody is truly canceled unless they consent to it and they willingly play their assigned role.
This is kind of true to an extent. You know, if you were Matt Walsh looking to optimize your behavior, like sort of for how do you benefit the most, then this is sort of the correct way to handle it. Obviously, you know, it's not as though we were going to get an apology from him or anything. The right is, at this point, largely unapologetic in their desire to kill minorities and rape children. But yes, the use of terms like degenerate and parasite. I mean, again, he is a Nazi, you know.
Well, I do not consent. And I'm not going to play the game. I'm not going anywhere. I am more motivated than ever to oppose you and to fight against everything you stand for because I hate everything you stand for. And I hate it more with each passing day. So you can try to humiliate me. You can try to ruin my reputation. You can accuse me of all of the most heinous crimes that you can invent in your tiny, feverish little brains. But I am not going anywhere. Staying in the fight, never leaving. I promise you that. Also, for the record, I will always maintain that tasers are a wonderful source of comedy. That's
true. Yeah, I feel bad for his kids too. You know, we had Elon Musk the other day saying that the reason his daughter doesn't like him is because, like, they teach communism in schools or something. Like, he was like, well, you can't win them all because his daughter hates him. Because he's like, oh, well, they're teaching her communism or whatever. Now, I wonder how long it'll be before Matt Walsh's children come out with, like, the weirdo abuse stories from Mr. I violate my kids' consent all the time.